Hello, everybody. This is Gynarchic Awakening here. Having a pretty rough morning. I have some business to take care of soon, so yeah, let's just get right into this. This is going to be part two of, why I don't even remember the title. That's how tired I am. Definitely having weird little issues. Oh yeah, what exactly is it that's causing the Gynarchists to have trouble coordinating together? I think that one serious issue that we do have, and I can attest to this because I personally experienced the problem. I went through it myself, and it's a lack of serious commitment towards any kind of action plan, any any kind of project, even stuff as mundane as your everyday ordinary projects. Like these individuals who sometimes call themselves or take up the label of Gynarchist, they are not, in fact, Gynarchists. And that is actually a very troubling thing because if you don't know who your people are, then obviously you're going to have reservations about wanting to make short-term plans or long-term plans for the people in your community. Because if you don't know who's willing to commit to something, then how can you go anywhere? And I can definitely empathize with this struggle because it happened when I was on FetLife. A few years back, I posted something about a community. I was hoping that people would take an interest in it. And what ended up happening is they treated it like it was some kind of thought experiment or I guess you could like puzzle to be amused over or some other bullshit. What I found is that they led me on and then they pulled the rug out from under me. And these two things right here are some of the most offensive things that you can ever do to a genuine Gynarchist in the community. And I can understand why some of them would be very reticent about investing any serious time or energy into doing any of this. And this is kind of how it happened. I talked about what if we could form a community or a village, and there were a bunch of different comments. What I thought, well, hey, since they're talking about how to do it, maybe that means that they will do it or they want to do it. And then they all kind of just went their separate ways. It was almost like I lit a spark, but then there was no fire. And I didn't know who it was I was dealing with at the time. I didn't realize that these people are just interested in the activity for cerebral reasons. They just like thinking about it. They approach it like it's some kind of problem or as I said before, thought experiment. They don't actually care to gather together to form into these communities or to even collaborate on art projects that are gynarchic or whatever. They don't care about this stuff. And so I was waiting for weeks, even months, for a genuine response from people who would care. And they totally pulled the rug out on me and made a fool out of me. So I do know how that feels when I am trying to get something going here. I am ready to commit myself to something 100,000%. And then you have all these other people who are making you think that they're about to do that too. Only for them, it's erotic. It's something fun to think about, to talk about. It's like, that's another thing too. It just felt like to them, it was a conversation topic. It was a way to pass the time, even though I was deadly serious about it. I meant every word of what I was saying. They didn't. So, I mean, I guess the question is, have anybody else in the Goddard community, have any of you felt like had the rug pulled out from under you, where you wanted to organize an art project or a community gathering or even just an event, and every fucking time you ran into these individuals who claimed to be just like you, who said they were just like you, and it turns out they're nothing like you. They don't have the same level of commitment. That's a huge fucking problem, because if somebody is not going to follow through and they're just going to drop a project on you midway, well, you have to be absolutely certain of the people that you're working with, because if you're not, your time and energy is going to be wasted. I had an individual who tried to run an art group a long time ago, but because of poor leadership and other drama that got brought into it, that group imploded. So this has happened to me on at least two occasions where I am trying to get shit done. I'm trying to organize things. I'm trying to come up with ideas, things that are reasonable. And what ends up happening is, for whatever reason, although it's probably the reasons I mentioned, they bail. And then I'm left with the metaphorical check, so to speak. Uh, the sad thing is I can't check it back in. Like, I can't get back my time. I can't get back the energy that I invested into this, thinking that these people were serious. They fucked me over, quite literally. And they didn't even have the common decency or courtesy to let me know that for them this was just a topic of conversation, that for them this was just a passing interest, that this wasn't something that they were ever going to take 100% seriously. If they had done that, I'd be angry with them, but I wouldn't be anywhere near as livid as I still am to this day. And so that's kind of why, that's part of why I make these videos. That's part of why I am trying to help contribute to the gynocentric culture, because if I can gather people who are either serious or people who want to find people that are serious, maybe that can make a difference in and of itself. Because obviously, we don't have a whole lot of leadership. And like when I see the Reddit groups, I see a lot of lack of leadership, actually. But because what I see mostly men commenting on it. And when I do see women commenting on it, and I don't mean this the wrong way, I can definitely understand where it might be coming from, but I can feel genuine hostility and aggression coming from some of the women in those groups. So I get the feeling that they're having their own frustrations going on, and there's problems going on in that community as well that I don't know about in that particular Reddit group. I don't know what's causing it. What I do know is that obviously we have to learn from our mistakes if we intend to grow as a community. And that's partially why these videos are being made, so people can listen to these stories and go, okay, so great. Well, then who is serious? And I will get into that later. I'll do a sequel series called How to Coordinate the efforts of Gynarchists towards the creation of communities. I will actually make an entire video series about this, giving people tips, helping people out. But the long story short is that these individuals, they made me think something that wasn't true. And I paid the price for my naivete, for my ignorance, and that is something that will follow me for the rest of my life, and I will never forget it. It will always be something that's offensive to me. Maybe I take it too personally, but it is what it is. So getting back on track, the other part of the problem, aside from what I just mentioned, because it'll literally take you years to find serious people. And then, of course, you have to decide what actions you can actually take realistically towards your goal. So that is definitely a part of the problem too. Although I think it's a lot more, I mean, it does need to be fleshed out, but at least you're in the right direction there. At least you know that, okay, friends, community. I think the next problem that really, really hurts is not knowing where to turn to when all of the places you've looked for have turned up mostly nothing. So what do I mean by that? So when I went into the femdom, one of the femdom groups on Reddit, all I was doing was I was asking about I talked about my relationships. I tried to figure out or tried to get some information. And then these people who are in the femdom community are dunking on me about my Gynarchic views, my philosophy, making claims like most X group. I don't know how you know most X people. Uh, I don't know how you know exactly what it is they want in relation to Gynarchy, unless there was some kind of poll or study done. But I don't know what this one person he came across like he was a male dom or something. Is like, dude, talk to somebody else. But he kept trying to push with me, and I didn't engage with it because I'm not going to argue my deeply held beliefs with an enemy, somebody who's obviously an enemy. And it turns out there's people in the femdom community, opposite of what you think, who are absolutely hostile. And another commenter mentioned this as well, and that person's comment, I'm starting to realize, has been scarily accurate. Either these people will not acknowledge it, will be indifferent to it, or they're hostile towards it. So if you are looking towards the femdom community for Gynarchists or for people who identify, you might actually be searching longer than you want to. And this is what I've come to realize as well. A lot of them are into that community because they're looking for a date or a relationship, or to explore their personal fantasies and so on and so forth. So they are not, or their power dynamic that they want, but or to experiment. But they are definitely, in my view, not enthusiastic in their support. In fact, you could argue the exact opposite. It almost seemed as if they were like 10 minutes away from reporting me and having me banned or something if they could. That's the feeling I got. It's like, okay, it's time to bring out some cancel culture on you. I'm like, oh, lovely. Because I don't remember insulting you any. I didn't even bring up Gynarchy in that thread. People were bringing that shit up with me. It's like, dude, I didn't even mention this shit. You're the one that mentioned it. You brought this up. I wasn't talking about this stuff. I was talking about my personal relationships. I was talking about how to find somebody, this or that. And then when you pulled this shit on me, I was like, wow. Because I'm not talking about your personally held beliefs, but you're talking about mine. I mean, that's just a big no-no for basic etiquette, basic levels of basic self-respect. Because I don't want to hear that shit from you. And you should know better than to talk about it. Especially if you don't, I mean, my mother used to, I don't know if it was my mother or somebody used to tell me, if you had nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Because I didn't ask for that, to be treated like that. I didn't ask for people to be dogging on me. But they did dog on me like that. So if you're gonna do that kind of shit, and I've seen it I've seen what happened on FetLife as well. I've seen how many people, those Gynarchy groups that are on there, those are not very active at all. In fact, some of them could be referred to as desolate because they won't even get but one comment every few months. So, and this is what leads into the problem, and I think this is part of what causes the discouragement, and that can also be a way that people will just leave. Is, okay, well, if the femdom community, which seems like it could be supportive of it, is actually hostile towards it, then who can I turn to? And so what happens when you explore X, Reddit, whatever, all of the different social apps and medias, YouTube, and you just can't find more than a handful of people? Where else do you turn to? And I'll definitely answer this question in the sequel series. But if you are running out of ideas of where to find people who are receptive to these ideas or thoughts, then obviously you're going to lose hope. You're going to think, well, there's barely anybody who's willing to talk about this, much less coordinate anyways. And we're all living in different fucking states. Like, geographically, most of us are isolated from each other. So that's a fucking problem. Like, where do I turn to? I've gone to all the groups. I've gone to, the Discord. I've tried to meet everybody that I can, and it doesn't ever seem to be good enough. Nothing, I'm not turning up anything serious in my searches. And I've personally been through this. I have scoured Twitter. I have scoured other social media. It is incredibly difficult to bring people together and to get them on board to do something. Anything, really. And of course, there are other good reasons for that, which I will mention in the next video. So I hope you all have a great day, and please take care.